Hey everybody. Hello. Ah, okay. I think I'm live now. So, I'm actually just going to be looking at two different things here. I'm trying to see if I can simultaneously go live on Facebook and Instagram. So feel free to leave comments, messages, questions, whatever if you have any. I just wanted to show you guys the first peek of my upcoming book. So this is Shadow Work for Hot Messes: Transform from Chaos to Clarity by Embracing Your Authentic Self. I'm super excited about this, you guys. So this is set to be released on October 15th. I actually just got this, which is like the author sample. And so I wanted to give you guys a chance to see it, have like a little sneak peek of it. Now, it's important to note that this book is actually it's an interactive workbook, but in my experience, there's two questions that come up like all the time when it comes to the shadow work conversation, whether it be with people I'm working with or just like random drive-by questions. And those two questions are, where do you start? And then how do you integrate, right? And so this book I wrote specifically to kind of address and answer those two questions, because I think when it comes to shadow work, it's become a topic that kind of has a lot more mystery to it than it needs to have, right? Like it's actually it doesn't have to be something that you overthink too much. In fact, the overthinking it usually has a shadow origin in and of itself, right? Because when things feel kind of a little bit scary, a little bit hard or whatever, it can be, we can have a tendency to just like shut that shit down, right? And so this book is interactive. I wanted to give you guys a chance to see it. So I teach shadow work. If you're in if you're in Hot Mess Coven, or if you've taken Delusionally Sexy or any of the other any of the other programs that I have that talk about shadow work and address shadow work, then you know that I do a 3-step approach to shadow work. So there is the perception phase, there's the investigation or exploration phase. That's where you do like the journal prompts and all that shit, trying to like figure out where these things came from, what purpose they serve, et cetera, et cetera. And then the integration phase, which is actually the most important phase, right? Because something that can happen a lot, especially if you're like the type that's really into healing or personal development and that kind of shit, is that what can happen is we start to view and address ourselves as a problem to be fixed, which is like the the worst way to approach it. So if you do a lot of shadow work and you kind of feel like you've discovered all these new things, and you know, oh, I've realized I have this issue, that issue, whatever, it doesn't really, it's not helpful until you can figure out what to do with that information, how to work with it, how to use it, and then how to integrate it. I hope that that makes sense. I'm a little nervous because I'm on live on two different things here. So this book here, I'm just going to show a couple examples. So there's spaces within the book for you to actually write in this if you actually wanted to write in this as if write in this or instead of a journal. So you can see there's some things there. See if I can find more examples. So the whole thing is full of interactive content, right? All over the place. So each entry in this has usually there, it does vary. Some have 3, but usually 2 kind of activities or interactive things that you can do with it. So the reason that it's like this is because, and like, what, I guess I should start by saying, like, why should you give a fuck? Well, when it comes to shadow work, there's a lot that you can find that is like journal prompts or exploratory questions or things like that, which is amazing, so great. I love it, all the things. This book, though, I wrote that has it has a combination of actual kind of written education. Like there's a written element to it where I talk about specific issues, I talk about like how to see it, I talk about like how to work with it, and then there is the exploratory prompts and things like that, so that you can kind of go through it and see what it brings up for you. Now each section also has integration tips. So this is broken into the 3 phases. So the investigation, the exploration, and then the integration. But it's very important that people understand just how key integration is to the whole thing. And so in the spirit of that, I put integration tips throughout the book in every single entry so that you can read the thing, you can do the thing, but it's also going to give you a little tip on like, okay, but how, like, what do you do with this information once you have it? How do you work with it, etc., etc. So I'm really excited about this because in my personal experience, I find a lot of things that are out there on shadow work to be kind of lacking or very vague. And I wanted this to be like a super accepting, super kind of relatable and fun way to approach this work, because I don't think it has to be super heavy. I know that's kind of like can be an unpopular opinion. Your shadows are inherently heavy, right? Like a lot of times they come from trauma or they come from a lot of unpleasant experiences. It can actually be very disorienting to kind of have an encounter with your shadow and then recognize that that's a part of you. All those things can feel kind of heavy, kind of gross, whatever, but I think that it's just part of being a human being, right? And we all just need to learn to accept the fact that we are human, and as humans we are flawed, we are emotional, we are we have very tender hearts. And so that's kind of what I was trying to achieve with this book. So I did just want to say that this book is actually on pre-sale right now, so it's set to be released on October 15th. And you can pre-sale, or you can order it on pre-sale now. I did want to say that pre-sales are so important to authors. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about what it's like to be an author or about the publishing process that make it I think a lot of different people carry a lot of different ideas of what that means, what that looks like, what comes along with that. And I will say that one thing that was shocking for me as an author was understanding just how important pre-sales are. So the average author doesn't actually like selling books is pretty hard, and I'm traditionally published. I'm really lucky. I have a truly just fantastic, magical, wonderful publisher. I just love them so much, and I love everything that we've managed to make together. But part of the publishing process is the pre-order process, and that is because if a book is getting pre-ordered a lot, then it shows that it's in demand. So that means that bookstores are more likely to order more copies, or more bookstores are more likely to order copies. That means it's probably more likely to rank, for example, in the Amazon algorithm, which is where a lot of people, how a lot of people do find books, is by cruising Amazon or by reading reviews. That's another thing. So pre-orders and reviews are so important to authors, and I wish that more people understood that, because pre-orders can actually kind of make or break a book release, and also make or break an author's career, right? Because the more successful you are at writing and selling books, the more opportunities that you end up getting. So if you want to get this book and you're at all able to order it on pre-sale, I would appreciate that so much. It would be so helpful to me personally if you could pre-order this book. Again, it's coming out on October 15th. I'm super excited. Are you guys are y'all hyped for this? Because I'm fucking hyped for this. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I just figured out how to see the ones that are on Facebook. So thank you. Yes, thank you for saying you're excited. I've got some people on Instagram here saying they're gonna pre-order. Thank you so much. And if at all possible, if you guys would like to help me share that this is coming out, that would be super helpful as well. I just did a reel, and I'm gonna start doing probably a lot of content about this book so that people can kind of get it on their radar. I do still get the occasional person saying, oh my gosh, you've written a book, and I'm like, girl, this is my fourth. So I think we kind of take it for granted as creators that everybody sees our stuff, or that we talk about our stuff too much. But really, one thing that I'm starting to realize is that there's actually very few people that get to see all the things that you produce and all the things that you do. So I'm just going to check if there's any questions about this book, and I'll try to address them. I'm having like a bit of a issue here on Instagram. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so this is the book, Shadow Work for Hot Messes. Woo! Now, some of the things that are covered in this, I'm just gonna show. I'm gonna show some of the stuff in here. So it's broken up into 3 phases. So phase 1, perception, seeing the unseen. Phase 2, investigation, so getting cozy with your shadow. That's where you kind of like start really exploring that in a little bit more detail. And then phase 3, integration and synthesis, so vibing with your whole self. Now, I used to work in community inclusion for developmentally disabled adults, and the way that I teach shadow work and the way that I do shadow work with people is a lot different than I've seen out there. And the reason for that is I actually use like principles of behavior modification in this. So, for example, things like finding the function of behavior and trying to fulfill that function before you engage in, these behaviors where your shadow comes out of the blue and you're like, what the actual fuck was that? So, there's stuff in there about this. At the end of the book, you can craft your own shadow care plan. A lot of the prompts and things in here are kind of creative. So some of these prompts here are like, check boxes or things that you sign or things that you write out. But then there's also ones where you can like draw and do all of that sort of thing. So some of the entries that are in this book, my nerves. Some of the entries that are in this book are, for example, the first one, the invisible villain patterns. And so when your shadow's pulling the string, so because this isn't the perception phase, this is all about like how you can start noticing there's a shadowy issue. And oftentimes the way that we can first begin to notice it is if we have these repetitive patterns, these repetitive roles, these repetitive things that just keep popping up in our lives. And it makes us ask the question like, okay, so is this me? Like, am I somehow attracting this? Am I somehow addicted to these roles? Am I somehow engaging in these patterns because there's some shadowy issue at play? There's stuff in here about the golden shadow, so I'm sure that you have heard of that. So we often think when we think of shadow work, we think about things like your repressed anger or, some of these like more shitty behaviors for lack of a better word, but there's also other parts of us that get stuck and repressed in the shadow. So this is, Jung called this the golden shadow. So this is things like our enthusiasm, our joy, our creativity, our authenticity, right? And that's really kind of the goal of this book. There's stuff in here about your relationships with other people. There's stuff in here about, like shame, guilt, etc. Because in my opinion, there's typically a huge component of shame that really is the core wound at the bottom of a lot of shadowy behavior. And there is again stuff at the end about actually integrating your shadow. Now, again, this is a book by me, so if you're watching this, you probably are actually familiar with me already, and you know how I write, and you know how I talk, and you know my work and all of that, but like, this is written very conversational. This is very, very conversational. I don't think exploring your shadows has to be something that is soul sucking. I don't think it has to be something where you look at yourself in the mirror afterward and you're like, oh God, what kind of person am I? It is about radical self-acceptance, you guys. We are all here on this planet for a very flawed, a very beautiful, a very agonizing, a wonderful human experience that is temporary and magical and amazing. And I think that spending a lot of that time feeling as if we are a problem to be fixed is not the fucking vibe. So this book is supposed to be your vibe checking bestie. Okay, I'm gonna pop off now, but if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave me a comment or something like that, and I will try and get back to it. Again, just a warning, I'm going to be doing a hard push on this book because like it is my career. And so I'm going to be doing a lot of different content, a lot of different quotes from the book, a lot of different stuff in this book. So let me know if there's anything that you want to see, but check it out. Oh my God, you guys. Do you guys want to peek at the dedication? The dedication is dedicated to my inner demons, unexpected mentors in the school of consciousness, curiosity, and love. So, shadow work for hot messes. Transform from chaos to clarity by embracing your authentic self. I want to thank my agent, Erin Niamata, and I want to thank Adams Media, my publisher, because I absolutely love them. And again, if you're just watching this now, pre-orders are so important. They're very important, if at all possible. If you're going to buy it and it's at all possible to pre-order it, go ahead and pre-order it. So the name again is Shadow Work for Hot Messes. It's transformed from chaos to clarity by embracing your authentic self. And I hope you guys love it. I hope that it helps you as much as these things helped me. And yeah, I love you. Thank you for being here.